Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we'll say Kalayim Yahweh Shemel Shabbat Shemal Kakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, the great Most on GMS of Ruin Teach Well. I'm on Street Arrow News. Apple backs brain chip tech to control devices using thought. Right, this was uploaded yesterday. Right, this is hot topic news. Hot topic news. All the brothers, a bunch of brothers were talking about this thing yesterday. Right, it came up. I remember I saw it while I was working, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I gotta go talk about this. All right, so this is 100% real news, by the way, even though it's on a private website. .com is private. Usually, you want to trust things that are from either reputable .coms or from like an org or whatever. But sometimes orgs can be unreliable as well, right? So Apple has partnered with neurotech firm Synchron to develop a brain and computer interface that allows users to control digital devices through brain activity without the need for typing, tapping, or swiping. Synchron's device, the Stenrode, is implanted via the jugular vein and uses electrodes to control brain activity. Right, so, it's on the jugular's brain, on the jugular vein. Right, let's see where that's at. Alright, so I just looked up Synchron brain implant. Synchron is a brain computer interface company developing implantable neurotechnology, particularly the Stenrode device, right? And that is what I think is the jugular vein on the motor cortex. So it's right up there. It's on your brain, right? Because when I think of jugular, I thought the jugular was something like in your throat or something. It was like around your throat. Oh, he's going for the jugular or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Particularly the Stenrode device, which is designed to be implanted via the blood vessels, avoiding open surgery, right? But still, right, an implant still permanently implanted. I looked up a Stenrode, and it's still implanted, right? This minimally invasive approach allows the Stenrode to be placed near the brain's motor cortex to record brain activity, which can then be translated into commands for external digital devices, right? So a 16 electrode array is delivered through the jugular vein and sneaked up a blood vessel to the motor cortex. So I guess they have to put it through a vein. Yeah, so insert it through the vein in your head. Once in place, it records electrical activity from the brain and transmits it wirelessly to a receiver transmitter in the chest. Right? So, yeah. So, you already know what I'm going to go get. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 16. Right? As he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. Right, so he calls it all, and that word for causeth, right, is poeo, which means to make, right, to be the author of, to make ready, to prepare, to produce, right, provide a thing, make a thing out of something, render one anything, to put one forth, lead him out, make one do something, right, celebrate, to perform, to a promise, to be the authors of a thing, bring about, right? I don't know. I think persuade is in here somewhere. Maybe it's in the blue letter, but you'll find the word persuade in here. There's just a lot. Purpose out, make, journey, purpose out, continue, deal, point, content, deal with, gain, execute. Yeah, we can go execute. Right, so we'll cause or execute. Right, this is all prophecy. Right, cause, make. Right, all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to see a mark in the right hand or in the forehead. Right, so something has to be happening, or some sort of stipulation, or they have to. So for them to make something be widespread, they need to hold something over the people. During the pandemic, they held normality over the people. They said, you have to get this this V, or else you won't be able to have a normal life. We're gonna gatekeep your normal life, your normalcy. We'll take away that from you, right? And we'll take away, pretty much the things you like to do, So they gate kept that and said, if you want to live this normalcy, you want to have this normalcy, you have to take this V, man, right? And or what they call the jump shot, the shot, right? They gate kept that, right? But they're gonna gatekeep something again, so just keep that in mind, right? And then, right, they want you to take a mark, right? An imprinted mark on the forehead, right hand, badge that follows the Antichrist. Now, there's not one Antichrist, right? Antichrist is pretty much just someone who's against Yahushai, right? But it is a badge. It is a mark, right? It is something that delineates, right? Yeah. See, 1 John 2:18, Lord children, says last time, as you've heard that Antichrist shall come. Even now, there are many Antichrists, whereby that's the last time. So there are many Antichrists, right? There's many. Okay, not just one. Like, these Christians like to make it seem like there's going to be born a person who's the Antichrist, and he would be around in these days, and I guess he'll fight. Well, let's speak in their terms, right? He'll fight Jesus when he comes back to save everybody, and try to keep Jesus from saving everybody, which is pure madness. Number one, everyone will not be saved. See, at 14, right? He'll have mercy on. Well, I think is it 14? I think it is in 14. But the Lord have mercy on Jacob, will yet choose Israel, right? The Lord has chosen Israel out of His name. Really paraphrasing, right? So, you got that, and then if you want to try using anything from the scriptures, from the New Testament, look, it says Gentiles are going to get saved, blah 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 blah, right? And you got 1 Corinthians 12:2, right? We became as Gentiles by following and dragged away unto these dumb idols, right? These false gods, we became as Gentiles, right? Which is the same thing with us today, man. We're following Christianity. Some of us were growing up Muslim, and some of us could even came from those little Muslim schools, man. Which, they had them back then. I don't know. They're around nowadays. You see them in different places. They'll have a kitchen, and they'll teach the kids the Muslim stuff. I've seen it. They even got a woman's entrance. I never seen anything like that before. But my job, I'm all over the place, right? So you see these things, right? He calls of all, right? So that's the word for mark, right? The mark is charagma, right? I'm getting excited, but it's important to get excited, right? You should be excited. You should be giddy. You should be enthusiastic, right? That's not a bad trait to be enthusiastic about this truth, right? Like, we want to talk about this. If only things weren't the way they are, man. We'll talk about these things more often, talk about them openly. But we gotta be moving circumspectly. We can't just talk about this stuff openly and so on and so forth. We talk about it between each other, which we would do that anyway. But we talk about it in these videos. But I wouldn't talk about these things at work and just tell Jake, and even if I did have a brother that worked with me at the same job, we would move wisely, So the word is karax, right? Karax from carousel, right? It's akin to the idea of scratching a stake, palisade, rampart, right? So we know what a stake is, right? A stake, scratching to sharpen, right? So it's something implanted. Right? It's something implanted, like you put a stake into the ground. It's something implanted, and this thing that's being implanted is the motb, right? Let's go back to graphel, right? To grave, to write, describing, writing, right? So we went from charagma, right? The root word of charagma is karax. And from karax, we also say comes from crosso, which means to scratch or sharpen. Right? So something sharp, something implanted, right? And then you have graphel, to grade, to write with writing, expressing, writing characters. In other words, right? This is where you get graphic, right? Graphel, graphic, all this stuff, right? I live like also logo you get from logos, logos, which logos is like logic, but nowadays it's photo or like something that delineates a business logo, right? Photo that delineates a business, right? So it all goes back to data, right? Data. All your data will be on this thing. So something sharpened, something implanted that goes back to data, right? Data is like king nowadays, right? Everything is done through data, numbers, and all these things. That's how the computers run, really. You know, data and numbers. When you do programming, it's all data, keeping track of data, or what they call getters and setters. Right? I'm not like a master programmer. I haven't done it in some time. I started working more. I don't really have too much time to play around. But you set like a variable, and then you get it. Maybe you set multiple variables, and then you get those, and maybe you want to update those, or have those things be updated in real time. And you have functions and blah 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 blah. Right? So he calls these guys, right, rich and poor, free and bond, to see a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right? Now, these are the warmest places in your body, your right hand, your forehead. However, you are, in fact, forbidden from taking it anywhere on your body, right? And you probably have some clowns out there saying, "Oh, well, look, this one you get it through the vein. It's not like implanted through surgery, so it's like, no, bro. That is the motb. Synchron's thing is the motb as well, right? And it doesn't matter, right? We're not taking any of that nonsense on our body, right? And we stake our lives on it. That's how important it is to us, right? We count the costs. We know the seriousness of what we're dealing with, right? So